All right, so we're working on our Angular CLI app, OpenDJ Radio. Yesterday, we got a lot of the communication set up between the front end and the back end. So we're going to be continuing to do that today. We need to set up, I think playlists are already set up with the ability to search YouTube and add a song to a playlist. So we need to do the same thing for the queue. So we're going to be writing a queue service right now. Oh, good morning, Cookie Sec. Long time no see. Seems a new project here. No turning back is finished, right? Yep, that game is completed, and then we're letting it sit for a little bit, and then I'm going to put it onto mobile coming up here in the next couple weeks once I complete this project. This project should be completed before the end of the year. So let's go ahead and pick up here. One thing I wanted to check is when I think about how this game works, we're going to have one currency, which is defined by the administrator, and then that currency has a existence for a user per room. So that means that in the data in the library for my entities, when I look at application user, I should be able to remove here's application user room currency, which has a application user room ID and a currency ID. And when I look at currency, I say that it belongs to a room. Now, I don't think that's correct. I believe the currency exists for everybody. So that means that we can get rid of this application users currencies. That's good. And this one had a room, so we can get rid of currencies. So on my VMs, my view models, I need to change room so there's no more currencies. And that means that an application user room currency is just that. And then also, that looks right. So now when I rebuild this, good morning there, D3Xbury. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. Cookie Sec, if you're still out there, make sure you give this game a try. All right, we got one here with an S. Okay. So now that that's been completed, in my create currency here, I'm not passing a room anymore. Like that. This also doesn't need a room create request. And on my front end, where I have my interfaces, I want to look at the currency create request and get rid of that's interesting. These two things are exactly the same. It was an I application user room, and we don't have them on it there, and we don't have them there. So we're good to go there. Okay, if I look back at the back end, and I rebuild it, okay, when I create a currency here, this request is assigning my application user room.id. So I don't think I need this anymore. But I do have a var user ID equals get user ID asynchronous. which we can put here. Okay. And so now this is my currency poll, which is not currently activated. We'll get this running in just a minute. But we should be good to go now. I'll rebuild it. Do a add migration to my data access layer, which will be called adjusted currency. Oh, we didn't get that one. And then we want to do an update database. Okay, that's done. So now when I run this, and then I run this one, ng-serve open. So Cookie Sec, I have to change the rules of this game for when we get a matched vote. Now it says that I can't find currency create request on my currency component, TS, called iCurrency. And then the other one is on the hub, which is in services, down here, called iCurrency. What's the game about? Any command to read instructions? No, we're guessing letters in this word. The letters that are available to guess from are visible on screen, and we're trying to get the zombie to the zombie fruit. You can check to see what your current zombie fruit inventory is with HHZ. So now, it'll load the front end. We'll log in. Let's log out, log in again, using our Twitch account. Hey, Obi Jags, how are you doing? Welcome back. Okay, so here we are inside of the home room. So if I look at rooms, these are populating, playlist is populating, currencies is populating. Let me look at my playlists, because when I click on my router link for playlists, plural, that's going to launch me to the playlists component, which should fire request playlist, which does, and then on the subscription it assigns it. So that's okay. If we look at currencies, we should be able to delete this currency, and we can. So we'll make a new one here called pixels 1, 5, and 30. And we'll save it. Good. Now when I look at currency playlists, we can see that my playlist name here, ooh, it didn't look like that it's pulling in my playlist when I load it. Let me see what's going on here with this. Request playlist. Okay, so it's never getting my request playlist when it's loading this. because I'm passing in I thought I would be passing in a playlist variable, but I'm not. I'm doing a subscribing my parameters ID here. So if I did a console.log of my ID here, log out, log back in. Okay, we'll look at playlists. It's not firing here. If I look at my log, undefined, so it's not getting my route. So to get the route, let me look at my room, because I'm doing this correctly here, where I'm getting the room from the query parameters, this.route.query parameters. No. So it's still not getting that. So I should have a link that I can use. Oh, there's only one more guess. Hey there, Frylock. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. Where's that link? Keith sent it to me. So that would be up here, and then here, and then this one. So now to get this, instead of my query params, it's just params. And the plus here converts it to a number, so I don't want that. And now it should work correctly. We'll log out. We'll log in. Check out currencies, check out playlists, and now it's pulling a playlist, finally. Okay. So here you can see I can search YouTube here for YouTube search, and it'll populate 50, and I can add a song here to the playlist. I can also remove a song from a playlist. And this is already saving, so we don't even need the well, if I look at my room component or my playlist component, you're doing the passing in playlist. You have here save playlist for this form. I mean, that's okay. Okay. So one thing I need to do is on the back end, when I am creating a playlist, we have a create and an update playlist. So when I'm looking at this one, I want to say if my entity.is default, then I want to set all the other entities in there to not default. So that's going to be a var. Too bad. The word was slipper. Too bad. We can play again if you guys want. This is going to be other playlists equals await my context.playlists. Where my application user ID equals application user ID, and that's okay. We'll just do for every one of them. ToList asynchronous, and then I want to do other playlists. So for each other playlist, come on. Then I want to do a other playlist dot is selected equals false, and then I want to do a context dot entry other playlist dot state equals modified. So we'll get this out here. So if this is selected, we'll do this, else, and now I want to say if my other playlists dot count is less than or equal to 0, then I want to do a edit dot is selected equals true. Okay, so this is validation here. This is validation, so only one playlist is listed as default. And when I'm looking at my playlists component, I need to add in another one here, which is going to be called default. So we'll say is selected, and then in this one we can just do a like that. It's not a link, it's a just some text, and all it's going to be is the playlist dot is selected. Another thing that I wanted to do was in here where I am getting my user ID, if we are getting my connections here and I can't get one, if my application user room connection is equal to null, then we're going to do something similar to what we have in this onConnected. So all of this stuff, I'm going to make a protected virtual asynchronous task called check connection. We're going to pass in nothing and just run a couple of different things. We're going to get the user information, try to get out my ID and my claims. And then here what I want to do is if my string dot is null or white space of the username and my string dot is null or white space of my user ID, And of course, we want those to be the opposite of. Then we're going to continue forward. And in the end, we're going to return a application user room connection VM. Like that. And this needs to be a return null. And this one needs to be a return this connection. Okay. So here in get user ID, if this is null, then I want to do my application user room connection equals await check connection asynchronous. And now I want to say if it's still null, then I want to disconnect it. Then we want to do I'll make a new function here called a protected virtual asynchronous task called a force server disconnect. Hey there, Zishan Tomboli. Which feature today? I'm adding in the queue. But first I'm putting in a little validation here for the hub so that I'm able to make sure that I'm pulling data each time across the pipe. Because right now I have to do a lot of logging in and logging out. So when we want to do a force server disconnect, it's just this. Clients .caller .send async force server disconnect. And it doesn't pass anything. This is going to be await force server disconnect. And we want to say that that's asynchronous. Because otherwise, we're going to just return nothing. So now in all the places where you're using this, we want to say if my user ID does not equal to GUID.empty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't have one. 6. 7. So these are all off a little bit. So let me go back to the where this thing is actually being invoked. And we'll do another find all references here. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. If my user ID does not equal to GUID.empty. 5, same thing. 6. And then 7. which has got to be in here. Okay. So now we need to have on the client side a force server disconnect. So in my hub, I'm going to make a new one of these, which is called a force server disconnect, which doesn't have anything. And when you do this, we want to do a this.hub connection dot, is there like a stop? Okay. And then I'll do an alert here, which is you have been disconnected. And then I want to do a disconnected event, which needs to be a disconnect. We'll say this is a force disconnect received. And we'll make this a new subject, just passing a string, which is kind of ugly, but I don't know how to do a subject in this language without passing a type. So unless one of you guys do, we'll just pass a string for now. And then here I want to do this dot force server disconnect. And it's going to be a next, and we're going to pass in the disconnected string. And then also we need to get down here a get force server disconnect, which is the string of my force serve disconnect receive. Okay, so then in my app module, where I'm passing in this hub service here, in the constructor, I want to also subscribe this event called this dot, and this is going to be a subscription for the disconnect subscription, and it's going to be this dot disconnect subscription is equal to this dot OAuth service dot it's your hub service dot get force disconnect dot subscribe, and we're just going to pass in here the data, which is a type of string. And when we do this, we want to log out. Okay, when we run this again, we go to home, we log out, and I log in and go to Twitch. This is good. It brings me in, and I don't think the back end must be running. It's not. So we'll log out, we'll log in again. Hey there, Traxy. Welcome back. I almost got the base of my project. I'm not 100% sure what you mean. Cool, so that worked. If I was to make another new playlist called playlist and save it, it's going to tell me I can't because the default that I have in this is 1. So if I made this 2, in account, we want to look at this, and I have a form here which is submit user data. So we need to have a submit user data, which is returning a void, and I want to pass in this.hub service. Sorry, it's just a private hub service called hub service. And in here I want to have a we'll say that this is a save user information. Or update user information. Okay. And this is going to invoke update user information here. Hub service.update user information. I was like, what's going on with that? Okay. We also need to subscribe that, so I need to have a, we're going to say that this is my user data subscription, which is a type of subscription of a I application user. My bad, it's just that. And then here I want to do this dot user data subscription. Do I have to dispose of these anywhere? So let me look that up here. Angular, do I need to dispose a subscription? We want to do it in all of these on destroy. So if I look in this TS, I also want to have this on destroy, which is right here. It's declared right here. And this needs to be a user information subscription. Like that. The next one here is currencies. I need to add this here as a on destroy. ng on destroy. And we only have one subscription in here, which is called a, just a second, currency subscription. Okay, just a second, please. All right, sorry about that. There's a question. Are you using any IntelliSense plugins for Visual Studio Code? I'm using just C# and TSLint. Okay. We need to do the same on currency. Which needs to get my connection sub and my currency sub. I don't even see where connection subscription is being used. Okay, that one's done. We also need to have the on destroy. The next one is home doesn't have anything. Playlist has 3. So we have an ng on destroy. And it's going to be a this dot playlist subscription dot unsubscribe. Okay. On playlists, I have 1 for playlists subscription. Like that. And we'll just do this. We also need to have in here the ng on destroy, which needs to be up here. And we want to do a this.playlist subscriptions.unsubscribe. And that needs to be changed to an event syntax like that. We have a room, which is here. This is a params, not a query params. This is a params. This one is a params. This one is a params. Good. You have a queue component, which shouldn't have anything in it yet. You have a chat component, which really doesn't have very much in it yet. And a song request component, which has all of these subscription pieces that I need to add in here. I didn't finish this, did I? How far did I get? Playlists.unsubscribe. We're on room now. We need to have a room doesn't have anything currently. Okay, that's fine. Rooms has 1 for room subscription, like that. We need to have an ng on destroy with a this dot room subscription dot unsubscribe. And we need to add in the on destroy up here. Under auth, none here. Under chat, none here. Under queue, nothing. Under search, I think that's one that we're going to get rid of. Oh, we do have a sub here for search. We'll just we'll comment that out for now because I don't even know if I'm going to use this component. And then song requests here needs to have an ng on destroy. which is these three. And we need to have the on destroy. Beautiful. So all that's been done. Okay, so I have my app component TS here where I'm doing my logout. That looks good. If I look at this now and I go to a different currency, I'm expecting this to log me out. So when I look at the back end here and I get my user ID, it's not even connected to the hub anymore. So let's connect it to the hub. We're good to go. We can look at the playlist. It currently is selected. I should be able to make a new playlist. It's currently selected and save it. That's weird. That was real weird. So if I look at a count, my playlist count is 2. And now I should do this update user information. And then we have this data subscription dot and then we want to say is equal to a this.hubservice.get user info dot subscribe, and it's going to be called a user info equals this. And now in this I want to say a user info is a I application user, and then we're going to do a user info equals user info, and I need to do that as a this. Okay, that's going to fire update user info, which needs to pass in a user info called I application user. Okay. So on the component, I want to add in here a private account service, which is an account service. In this one, you're subscribing your username, playlist, play count, and then you're going to request the information on init, and on destroy you're going to get rid of it. If I look at account component, I have username, song pool count, playlist count, and that's it. So I'm never using account service. So we're going to say save application user data, like that. And then in my TS, when I run this, this is a save application user info. We can get rid of these two. Like that. And if I look at this again, we can get rid of this. And this function needs to pass in here a application user, application user, like that. So over here, we should have a function called update user information. And in this one, I need to have a new application user update request. I think I already have that. And you're only passing in this username. That's not correct. You need it to also have the song pool count max and playlist count. And that should be it. And this should be an application user create request called a request. And now what I want to do is await my service says dot update application user asynchronous, which needs to be this update request, which is here. I can scrap these. We'll add those there. And then also I need to add in here a prop GUID for the ID. So in here, in my interfaces, I should have an I application user room. We should have an ID ASP.NET username room, which is a room, a song pool, and this. I'm going to do a create request for this one because it's not a full room, it's just a room code, which is a string. Okay, let me go change some of this backend code now to match. Oops, wrong one. So it's a update application user information, request application user information. This is an update application user asynchronous of my request. And with this one, we also want to pass in the GUID for the application user ID. And this is going to be my application user. And then I'm going to do a receive application user information. So back over here, you have an update, yeah. And then up here you should have a receive application user information. And now an account component, it's going to say I can't find this. And in this one, we need to have a let request, which is a I application user request, which is a ID is going to be equal to your ID here, which is a this.id equals user.id. You don't need ASP.NET user ID on this one anymore. That's the difference. I'm going to disagree with what I just said. I'm going to make this one an update request, which is a base update request, which doesn't have these first two. Uh-oh. Did I delete something I shouldn't have? I think I want that one back. What should this application do? This is a song request application so that you can listen to songs with a group, and then you can request songs and have them move up and down in the queue, and you can wager on how you want them to go. Okay? Okay, update application user async. It says doesn't exist, which is here, which needs to be a GUID ID. Where that, and we want to do my ID is equal to my ID, and I want to do my s.active. Interesting choice that didn't work there before. In this one, you also want to have your GUID application user ID. And that needs to be a delete application user. Asynchronous needs to pass in a GUID ID. And that's a application user ID, pardon me. Okay, we can run the back end now. It says I got an error in the front end, and account service and account component. Yep. This needs to be a this.id. Username equals this. Oops. Is this.username. Song pool count max is this dot song pool count max. Playlist count is this dot playlist count. And the room code. So we need to add room code up here as a room code. You guys want to play a game? And then here we want to pass in request. Location user information. Account component.ts. Cannot find I application user request. That's not correct. So we should be able to stop the batch job and reopen it. So we log in, we look at account, there it is. If I change my playlist to 2 and I save it, it should, and it did hit the back end, and it's passing over everything but room code. And then it updated it. Now, did it update it successfully? I don't see, when I go to account, it requesting anything here. Request application user information. You're right. Let's do it again. Okay, we look at account. There it is. It's going to request my information, which is fine. We can change this to 2 and save it. I thought for sure that would have updated to 2. So we're getting the user here. We're going to update the user request. Because I'm only updating individual fields here. So I need to update this one. We need this to be entity.roomcode.room.roomcode is equal to request.roomcode. We also want to do an entity.songPools_count equals request.songPoolCount, and an entity.playlist_count equals us.playlist_count. And this won't work because we need to include my room here. Now it should be working. Give it another run. Okay, when I look at account, it fired. I've received my information, so that's interesting. When I go to account, initially it's loading the data from weird. That's strange. Anyways, it doesn't matter. If I change this to a 2 and I submit, okay, I'm still not going to have a room code, so that worked. Should update it here to be a 2, and it did. But my room code is messed up, so I want to say in the Angular HTML here, I need to add in another one of these called room code. And I'll put it under username. Hey there, Arathan BTD. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions what I'm working on, don't hesitate to put them into the chat. This one here is called a room code, which is a room code, and then a room code with that and that. Okay, so when I look at account now I have 2, and my room code should be live or dev trying. And I'll submit that. Okay. Now one thing that I want to look at is, hey there, Alessio1225. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions what I'm working on, don't hesitate to put them into the chat. Now we'll make another playlist, set it to be as currently selected, and save it. It's the second time it's done that for me. So when I look at playlists, and I do a new playlist here, it takes me over to here, where I have my Save Playlist button. Which should fire a save playlist and then navigate me back. This is where you're getting the playlist. Interesting. Have to see what's going on with that. Oh, well, it made it. Just was weird about it. So maybe if I got rid of this line. And then I think we're going to start on the queue. Or we could make a quick message service. So when I look at account, and I'm getting my user, it should be including the room. And it does. So here we need to say in account component HTML, we need to have a room code, which gets assigned to this.room code is equal to user.room.room code. Now it's working. Okay. And if I was to change this room code to be test at the end, in here I want to say if my user ID does not equal to GUID.empty. Like that. How to resolve API timeout problems, like for a lot of data. Usually there's a timeout property. What are you using for your app? Are you using C#? If you're using the HTTP client, you can change the timeout property. Is it your API that's timing out? That's a different story. If it's on a server side, I need more information there. Okay, still never got the room code. Well, it did, just not on the first load. If I look at this for accounts, when it did the first load here, this is where you get your token, then you're going to connect to the hub. When you connect to the hub, you're going to fire this on connect, which should fire back this application user room in receive data. So in playlists or in your services for this, you have something here called receive data, which is your application user room current, which is going to fire your user information received. Which is only going to pass across a room DTO and an application user. So here, if I did a console.log on my data, we run it again. This time when I look at this, it has a room with a room code and an application user ID. And if I look at account, yeah, it's populating now. Okay, cool. Currencies exist for everybody. Playlists are good here, and I can see that I can do a search for something and add it in. I don't understand why it breaks. In playlist, because you have this navigate to URL called save playlist. Weird. There it is. All right. So in the chat hub, when we do the save playlist here, which is going to invoke create playlist. Yeah, it totally breaks on that screen. Cannot read property of form of undefined in song request component. That's in shared. Search for song in my song list, edit play. Search for song needs to be here. Add song to playlist here. What's going on here? It's time on a postman is showing the logs for lots of data. Is pagination the solution? You could do pagination. You could also increase the timeout. Not read property of form of undefined. Playlist component. So let's first take this out. Cannot read valid property of undefined. Playlist, edit form. Not is valid. So that's working. Playlist name. We see that right there. So this is not valid because we get rid of this. Log in again here. Look at playlists here. No more errors. It is saving. Okay, application hub service .ts needs to be a console.log needs to go away. We'll go ahead and have this router in here. Yep, now it's working. And so now we can add back in this component. And now with any luck, we should be good to go. Uncaught promise of unsubscribe of undefined at song request. So if I look at song request again, component, you're trying to subscribe your that one, and this songs playlist. I don't think I have that one on here. So we'll try it again. Launch it. Look at playlists. Still unhappy with me, but mostly okay. You see that right there. So is it that in here this needs to be a edit form? Yeah, that was it. Okay. So I think that we got all those little bugs out now. And now we can start to work on rooms. If I check, rooms should be updated, and it is. And it'll navigate me to the correct room. We do need to remove currencies because that is only by certain claims. We do have playlists here with songs in them that we can add and remove. So when I did this update, I needed to say that here, if my entity is selected, and I want to get them where and my s.id does not equal my entity.id. There, that should solve it. We'll look at it again. Room code never populated for that, but that's okay. So now, if, when we're creating and updating it, or if my other playlists dot any s dot is selected, so if the count is less than 0 or there are not any that are selected, then set it to true. Same thing, this logic in the update. Okay, we'll take a look at it again. This time when I look at a playlist, you can say it's not currently selected, or it is currently selected, and then I can check this one and say it is currently selected, and then I can look at this one again, turn it off, and it should return that it's still selected. Perfect. So now what I need to have is the queue. So when I look at home, which is plain room, I think we had something here called reframe. Which I'll turn off for right now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add the queue in right here. So when I look at a room, I have this component here. And then I also want to say that this is going to be a small call. It's an extra small call 6, small call 6, medium call 4, and a large call 4. Okay, we have the next component here, which is a app queue. And it doesn't look like Bootstrap is working. So let me see what my Bootstrap grid. I just want to make sure I have these things correctly. It's the other way around. Call extra small 6. Call extra small 6. Call medium 4. Call large 4. Are you using Bootstrap? I should be. Angular is built on Bootstrap. Is it because I don't have a div class equals a row? No. It's annoying. like that. So, well, it's really lame that I can't get it to... Maybe I could just do it like this. No, so it's not taking right now with Bootstrap. Let me make sure of that real quick. I guess I never added Bootstrap. So let me add that in here as an npm install Bootstrap. Hey, Cookie Sack. Okay, this time we're going to serve it. Configure angular.json, it says. I don't see how I add in the, just a second. One easy way to do this is by opening the file source styles.css and adding import bootstrap dist css bootstrap.css. Now it's working. Hooray, we have Bootstrap. The formatting's off. So if I look here at the app HTML, I want to do this whole thing inside of a container. So we could do a div class equals container, and then I could do a div class equals call 12. And then add all this stuff in. Now it's looking a little better. All right, so here's our queue. So what we want to do is I need to have first it needs to retrieve the queue of the room when you connect. So when I look here at my connect, I'm getting the parameters of the room here. And then I probably want to get my room here. So we want to do a this.hubService.get room. Of my room code. So back over here now, I should have a this dot, and we want to have a room subscription like that. And it's going to be this dot room subscription is equal to this dot hub service dot get room dot subscribe the room to this. And now I can have a room, which is an I application user room. This is just an I room. What are you using for auto build and restart app after every save change? It just does that. ngserve does that. So this room should have a queue of songs on it, right? Called songs queued. So we need to have an interface here called iSongQueued, which is going to have a ID, which is a string, a weighted value, which is a number, a room, which is an iRoom, and a user. And a song. You want to have this also with a application user ID, which is an I application user, and a room, which is an I room. And this room needs to have a list of these called songs queued, which needs to be a list of iSongQueued. Yeah, I'm using .NET Core Web API with SignalR for the back end. Good morning. How are you guys doing? You guys want to play a game? We can play some Hungry Hungry Zombies. All right, so let's see now. When I run it, we log out, we log back in. Okay, so this should be invoking request room, which should be request room singular, which should be invoking on the back end. Request room, which is here, which invokes receive room, which is up here at the top, which passes my room receive. Interesting. But that came out like that with no labels now. So this time it requested the room successfully, and I didn't see that work. So let's try it again. Because the ID is null. So what we want to say is else this is the default room. And we need to do a room VM room. And if this is the case for the default room, then we also need to have the user ID so we could do a var user ID equals await get user ID asynchronous. And then we want to do a var user equals await services dot get read application user asynchronous by my ASP.NET user ID. So we just do that one. And that should include the room. It does. Which is my user.room.room code. We'll run it again and try it. Hey there, Angry M13. Angular, I have to learn that for my new job. Not too bad. How are you doing? Make sure you check out our YouTube, youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Why do you hate TypeScript? It's such a improvement over JavaScript. Are the user IDs and headers? No. I'm passing a token when they log in, and then I'm tracking it by connection ID. So when I request my room here, we get my default user ID. We read my user. I read my room. Successful. And there it is. And one thing I didn't like was when it was at home, it never invoked this method. It did in room. But it didn't in home. We'll log out, try it again. It never retrieved my data, did it? So back in the front end, now I'm receiving it twice, which I don't want. So instead of doing that, after we connect, here, this I want to say is an alert, which is called force disconnected. So then it's going to fire the on data received, which is in here. And then I want to do a this dot request room, passing in the this dot application user room dot ID. Good, now it's requesting the room up front. And there it is. So now that that's working, I can get rid of, well, I'll leave that one there, but you have a console.log in here that we added. Easy enough. And once we receive the room in here, I need to check if it is the host. If it is not, then connect to the proper time in the video. Otherwise, we need to set the room to online and pull from the queue or the playlist. Hey there, keeping track of this account. This is a new app. We should be done with this one by Christmas, by the end of the year. So when I look at room, I'm assigning it here. But I don't have the queue component really hooked up on this thing yet, right? I just have it right here. So if I look at my playlists, we had this, which we'll use as the guide. And now I want to look at the queue, TS, or HTML. And in this, we're going to say it's just going to be this list of songs. No songs in queue. And we're going to say that this is my songs queued.length. And this will be called songs in queue. Or we'll just say queued songs. And then this is going to be a, if I look at my interface, iSong queued. like this. Remove song from queue, like that. And then if my songs queue.length is less than that, then we're going to say no songs in the queue. And so now in my class, I need to have a queue, which is, or queued songs, songs queued, which is a isong queued array. And on this, I want to do my private hub service called hub service. And I should be able to do a hub service.request. Queue. And one thing I need to have in here is I want to pass in here as an input parameter a room, iRoom. So when we're calling this from here, we can do a on the ID. We'll look for that input, which is here. So it's in the song request component, which is in a playlist component. It's right here. So that means that in my queue component, I want this to be a room equals room. So now when I look at this thing again, we're looking at songs queued and isongs queued, Q-U-E-U-E-D. Okay, we need to have a request queue in my hub service. Called a request queue, which will be a room iRoom, which is void, and if this hub connection invoke request queue, and we're going to pass in the room. We also need to have up here at the top a receive room. I'm sorry, this is a receive queue, which will be a list of these isong queued, like that. And then we want to have a new event up here called queue received, which is an isong queued. And this is a queue received. And then we need to have down here the get queue, which will return the observable of the isong queued, like that, and then the queued request. Which means in here, when we're requesting the queue, we want to do a this dot, and then it's going to be a money sign songs queued subscription is a subscription. And then we want to do this dot songs queued subscription is equal to this dot hub service dot get song get queue dot subscribe, and it's going to be a songs queued, which is an I song queued array, and we're going to just assign it as a this dot songs queued equals songs queued. And then we also need to have the on destroy, which needs to have this ng on destroy, which is this dot songs dot unsubscribe. Oh, it used to be a mirror. Java or C Sharps, who wins? I like C Sharp. I hate CSS. Bootstrap is such a good alternative to responsive. That's all I want to improve. That's exactly how I feel, Z Shantom Boldy. That's why I like Bootstrap. Okay. So when I look at this request queue, this is going to invoke request queue and pass in a room. So we need to have a public asynchronous task called request queue, passing in a room VM, which is a room. And we'll do a console.write line hello world and break on it. Run a backend. There we go. So now when I look at the front end again, and we log out and log back in, doesn't appear I have the back end running. Let's try it again. That's good. It received the room okay. It received the queue. Oh, it says no songs in queue right now. And in my YouTube component, hey there, A over deer, how are you doing? Thank you for that 5 cheer. Appreciate that. If you have any questions when I'm working on it, don't hesitate to put them into the chat. We're going to re-enable reframe. And now it should fit inside of the window that I define it to be. Now, we need to start adding in a queued song. So in my queue, we'll leave it like this, and I'm going to handle this in my room. component. Because what I want to do here is have this request song, which is a I. Let me think about how we're going to do this. If I look at my interface here, we have a I. Well, we want to search YouTube first, right? So to do that, we have in Hub Services something here called request search YouTube with a search snippet. So we can do a this.hubservice.request search YouTube, pass in my this.search snippet. And now when I respond to this, we also need to have another one here for the YouTube search subscription. And then this is going to be a this dot my YouTube subscription is equal to this dot hubservice dot get YouTube search dot subscribe YouTube responses, and that's going to just do this. And if I look at my song request component, you have song results, like that, and we can say song results, song search results is a iSong search result, like that. So this is supposed to be a results. iSong search result needs to be dot results. Like that. We need to unsubscribe it here. I have a question. If you live in the US, which state do you live in? Because I noticed that your time is in PST, which is my time zone. Yeah, I live in California. I'm outside of LA. Okay? So when we return this on my song results here, we should have a this. Okay. Let's give it a try. We'll log in, sign into Twitch. Looks like I got a bit of a problem here. Can't read length of undefined. song search results. Song search results equals that. No songs in queue, no results. So now when I do a test search and I request, I was expecting this to do a request search YouTube, which should be over here. Hey, it worked. And you can see here all the songs that we can choose from. So this needs to be add song to queue. And again, I could search for anything in here like Batman. Well, I have to make sure I'm logged in here. And then click request song, and we can see it populate with all of the different results from YouTube. Now we need to add in a couple of these wager amounts need to go here. But we're making forward progress. Wow, says Z Shantomboli. Are you enjoying this? So, I've been going for 2 hours now. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. When we come back, we're going to continue forward with this. We need to make sure that we add the requested songs to the queue and that everything's going through the back end. And then we need to move the wager amounts and then also set up our currency pool and our ping pool. So if you guys have any questions, make sure you put them into the chat. We got a really active and supportive Discord. Make sure you check that out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Also, I put these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Don't touch that dial. I'll see you guys in just 11 minutes. Thanks for staying with me.